Hey, everybody, this is Andre. And today I want to talk to you about why the way you think about marketing is a major factor in the success or failure of your campaigns. You see, I've run a marketing agency for the last 17 years, and I see a lot of people who show up that are feeling completely overwhelmed by marketing. They're not sure where to start, they're not sure what they should do next, what they should do first, or even what went wrong if they've done marketing in the past. And today I want to let you in on a little secret, and that is the way that you think about marketing will help you get past all this. But first, if you're wondering who is this guy and why you should listen to me, well, I founded a marketing agency almost 20 years ago. And during that time, we worked with hundreds of clients, mostly local businesses, and helped them push through their needs to grow. And what I found over those years is that there are certain things that businesses that succeeded with marketing did really well. And there were certain things that businesses who failed in marketing didn't do. And that's really what this channel is about, is to help you learn from those mistakes that others have made and also the successes as well. The other thing, this video in particular is going to lean heavily into a lot of things that not only I observed firsthand and seen, but also things that I learned through working with some of the largest marketing people in industries like radio, TV, the digital marketer organization. So some things that we've taken away from those things as well. So I'm going to share with you some of that. But in terms of wrapping your brain around thought processes, see, I think the difference between success and failure in a lot of things is how you think. And then on the flip side, if you're feeling overwhelmed and confused, it's really pretty difficult to organize your thoughts into a plan. And so I'm going to give you today 3 steps we're going to walk through that's going to help you kind of organize your thinking when it comes to marketing. So number 1 is that you've got to understand the difference between tactics and strategies. Okay. And so what we mean by a tactic would be, for instance, Google advertising, right? Google ads, or meta advertising, or social media, or email marketing, right? Tactics are the individual things that we can do within marketing. And the reason it's important to understand the difference is because any of the individual tactics can be used, in a marketing campaign. And, do Google ads work? Yes. Have they worked for you in the past? Maybe or maybe not. And so what you find is that whether or not the tactic works is usually determined by the strategy in terms of how it's designed with the tactic in mind. And so strategy refers to a comprehensive plan where you're going to pick and choose individual tactics to use to accomplish different parts of the plan. And so beginning to understand that marketing is more than just picking, say, content marketing or advertising or email marketing, right? Those are individual tactics that you could do, but whether or not they work and whether or not they get to the point that you want them to get to is usually dependent on whether or not they fit within a strategy. Because a well thought out strategy was going to dictate how those tactics are used and also how you're going to evaluate their success. And that's where your thought processes become more clear, because if you have a strategy that says we're going to use, say, Google ads to create awareness in the beginning of our campaigns, well, then you can evaluate the success of that based on whether or not it's doing that initial goal, right? And so that's in stark contrast to people who will call up and say, hey, I just need more leads and we want to run Google ads, right? That's a recipe for disaster, because you're just looking at one tactic at that point, and you're not really looking at it in the standpoint of whether or not there's a broader strategy in mind. Okay. So you've got to understand the difference between tactics and strategies and learn to think about them a little differently. Number 2 is that the message, and when I say the message, I'm talking about your brand messaging, the words that you're saying in your campaigns. The message is the most important part. And what I mean by that is that the words that you're using, the brand message that you're conveying when you're creating a campaign and running your marketing, is more important than even the tactics or the strategies. And what we found over the years is that if your company doesn't do a good job of differentiating itself, doesn't do a good job of telling customers why they should align with your company, why they should do business with your company, why they should even explore doing business with your company, if you don't communicate that in a really effective way, then it doesn't matter what the tactic or the strategy is, it's going to fail. A crappy marketing message is going to kill any campaign, no matter how brilliantly it's designed. And so what I encourage you in those cases is to look at what can you do to work on the branding, your messaging, to make sure that really relays what your business is about at a really core level. So we've got some training courses about, how to create we believe statements. You can look into the story brand process. There's lots of ways to go about looking at that, but that messaging is make or break when it comes to a marketing campaign. And so one of my mentors, Roy Williams, liked to say, he says, there's no such thing as bad advertising. There's only bad messaging. Right. And that's really what we've seen over years, is you can take the same campaign, but change it with new messaging, and the same exact tactic and strategies will all of a sudden work. Okay. So that's number two. And the number three thing is that you really have to learn in your thought processes to balance long-term priorities with short-term needs. Okay. And so what I mean by that is that marketing is somewhat like, trying to lose weight or trying to get fit or save money or do other things, right? It doesn't happen overnight, especially if you're going to do it well in a way that fosters long-term growth. So marketing has certain things that you're going to do and certain pieces of the strategy that are going to be very focused on building long-term growth. But most of us, get into business and we have some short-term needs, right? We have cash flow needs. We need to get some activity going. We need some leads and business. Well, that's a different set of priorities. And so when you're thinking about marketing, it really helps to think about balancing those two, because if you go too far one way or the other, then it's not going to work. So I'm suggesting that marketing is a long-term project. So if you just simply engage in all of the strategies and tactics that are going to create long-term success, you might be 6 months, 8 months, a year before you see some fruit for that. And, maybe your business is in a position to sustain that. Maybe it isn't. Most of us will get frustrated at that point if you work on something for 6, 8, 10 months without any success. And so it's important to then balance that out with some short-term wins and gains that will help you get some initial activity and begin to build, and also give you some confidence and growth in the short term, right? Now, why wouldn't you just do that? Well, there are certain things you might do in the short term that aren't necessarily things that you want to do forever, right? So maybe it's running ads at a certain budget. Maybe it's running a certain offer or a certain special, right? These are all things that you might do in the short term that don't necessarily last forever, that you can't do on an indefinite basis. So learning to think about, okay, well, as we're building this marketing strategy, what are we going to do kind of short term to get us through, the long-term process? That's when you have a really great recipe for growth, when you're kind of balancing both things with your marketing strategy. And what I found is that if you can learn to think about things using this 3-step framework of understanding that tactics and strategies are different, that your branding and message is the most important part, and that as you're building your campaigns to use short-term needs and balance them with long-term priorities, right? If you can learn to think about things using those 3 steps, then the answers will become much more clear about what you need to do next in order to grow your business with better marketing. Okay. So now, if you like this advice about how to change your thinking and understand marketing better, you're going to love our marketing strategy mini course. And that teaches you how to take the next steps that we've talked about here and put your thought process into action, right? So I'm going to drop the link below. Check it out. I think you'll agree there's massive value inside for not a lot of money. Okay. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.